is obviously not normal, the path I'm taking, but I think it's definitely, I wouldn't have it any other way. And so I think a lot of the failures and the ups and downs I went through with baseball has helped me mature as a man. And, situations that, maybe came up with football.
Austin Aune made a comeback to baseball.
No, he made it from baseball to football. I know it's a little confusing. We'll talk about it. With him even, this story's great.
And this week on the Checkdown, we're featuring more comeback stories from the upcoming NFL draft. From Wondery, I'm Shek and Shazier.
And I'm Dave Damashek.
And this is Don't Call It a Comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.
Hey, Dave, let's get into this Austin Aune comeback.
Hey, Shazier, your wish is my command. Let's start all the way back in 2012 when Austin was the district MVP at both QB and shortstop at Argyle High School in Texas. Some people call that showing off. Dave Damashek, the non-athlete, is one of them. Austin committed to TCU just 30 miles up the road from Argyle to play both sports, but he still declared for the MLB draft. One morning in Fort Worth on his way to football summer workouts, Austin got a call from Brian Cashman, the GM of the Yankees, the New York Yankees.
The two-sport athlete committed to TCU. That was until the New York Yankees made him their second-round pick in 2012.
The Yankees offered him a spot in their minor league system and a $1 million signing bonus. Shazier, would you take that deal?
At 18 years old, man, it's hard to turn down $1 million, especially knowing that you have to play 3 or 4 more years in another sport just to even get close to that. Yeah, I might have to take that deal.
I mean, ditto. You're not going to get any pushback from Damashek on that. Austin couldn't resist the pinstripes either and or that paycheck, so he packed up his dorm room and headed north to start his career as a professional athlete before he ever took a snap for the Horned Frogs. And now, here's Aune hitting a homer for the Yankees.
Green at first. The pitch hit into right field. Right field is going back, and that one is over the wall. A home run for Austin Aune.
Of course, that would be the Gulf Coast League Yankees. He had some success, but after 6 seasons riding buses, he'd never made it past high A ball. So in the summer of 2018, 6 years after quitting the sport, Austin made his college football comeback. Austin enrolled at the University of North Texas and sat out his first year as a 25-year-old redshirt freshman, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the age Stetson Bennett is right now. Either way, over the next 3 years, Austin was buried on the depth chart, and he didn't win the starting gig until week 5 of 2021. But when he did, this happened.
Field, Aune wants to run it. Coach, you wanted to see him run a little bit. Look at him go. Aune first down and more and out of bounds.
Austin led the school to bowl games in 2021 and 22, set a UNT record for 33 touchdown passes. And while his teammates played video games and went to parties, Austin got married and he had a daughter. Now he's 29 years old, and Austin has declared for the NFL draft, although he's already older than 10 of the 14 quarterbacks starting in this year's playoffs. For more on Austin's comeback to football, here he is, everybody. It's Austin Aune. What's happening, man? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, guys. Appreciate y'all having me on.
What's up, Austin, man? What's up? Hey, man, so I want us to, talk about this a little bit. I know you're actually trying to get drafted right now. You just declared for the draft, but I want you to take us back to when you got drafted, by the Yankees. Why did you decide to leave TCU over the Yankees?
Yeah, so obviously out of high school, graduated in 2012, a long time ago, but had the opportunity to pursue football and baseball at the University of Texas Christian TCU, and so went there on a full football scholarship. While I was there, enrolled in June, so I was reported for summer one workouts, and I think I spent one night there. The MLB draft was the next day. Ended up getting a call from the New York Yankees, asking me if I was interested in coming and being part of their organization. And I had a little bit of leverage being at TCU on campus as far as like a money offer that I was looking for to take me away from TCU. The Yankees met it. And so, it was an opportunity to become a professional right away, to pursue a dream that I had, growing up. I either wanted to be professional football player, professional baseball player, and I was going to ride those out as long as I could and kind of see which one came up first. And baseball was, and playing for the New York Yankees was something that's special. 27-time world champion. The logo, the NY logo, is something that's recognized around the world. So you can't say no to that, especially as an 18-year-old. When they call and tell you, hey, let's come be a professional baseball player for us. So I took that and played 6 years with them.
Yeah, so it's crazy to me because I always think about when you're in minor leagues. So minor leagues for football is college football. In basketball they have the G League. But like, what was your experience like? Riding the buses and everything in the minor leagues.
Man, it was tough. It's not a glamorous life. The bus rides can get long. I think my longest bus ride was 14 hours overnight. I think we drove from like Georgia up to Maryland. I think if that's right. But sometimes we'd have to bus this season. Like we bussed down to San Antonio from Denton. It was a 5-hour trip, and some guys were complaining. I was like, man, this is a quick trip, man. Y'all don't know what a long bus ride is. So that it was cool. Those were the tough experiences, but the cool experiences were obviously getting to play baseball as a living. I got to meet some of the New York Yankees greats while I was playing. Derek Jeter was still there. He was rehabbing his ankle. So while I was at the Tampa facility, he came walking through. So I got to meet him. Got to play defense behind Mariano Rivera when he had a rehab stint down there. Alex Rodriguez had an injury stint down there. So I got to do batting practice one-on-one with him. And so, meeting some of the Yankees greats, back then, Aaron Judge wasn't who he was now. But I was his locker mate, 2, 3, 4 lockers down during spring training. So I got to know him a little bit. And so, it's great to see what he's doing, but you meet some of the Yankees greats, you get to represent an organization like the Yankees and play baseball for a living. So, there were some goods, but there's some bads, but there are also a lot of goods that come with that.
Well, let's talk about the goods. Well, I guess you just went over a lot of the goods. Those are bucket list kind of stuff for anybody who's a baseball fan, let alone a baseball player. New York Yankees, the luster of that. And then there's the buses, which is probably a hard right turn away from the glitz and glamour. So at what point does it sort of get in your head? Is it a slow process of like, I don't know if this is going to work out? And at what point does it become, in this millennium, like maybe I could do football? Who's to say I can't go back in my mid-20s or whatever? How's that shake out for you?
Yeah, obviously with coming out of high school and having the opportunity to pursue both, when I went with the Yankees, football was always kind of in the back of my mind. And it was definitely always in the back of my mind because during the off seasons, you just watch football the whole time and you'd still have the itch for it. And so, I think around probably year 3 or 4, it was like, hey man, this is getting tough. I'm really going to have to step it up with my play baseball wise, or, I could probably see it going pretty bad, but ended up sticking out with it for almost a full 6 seasons. I didn't make it to the end of the 6th season, but ended up getting released. And then I knew as soon as I got released, I wanted to come back. There was no question. I wanted to come back and play college football and give that a run. So, as soon as I got done, I was in Daytona Beach, Florida when I got released with the Yankees. And on my way back, driving home, I'm calling as many college coaches as I could and saying, hey, I'm trying to get my name back on the recruiting map. Let me know what you think. I'm an older guy. I think I was 24 at the time. So just put my name back out there as much as I could on that trip back from Florida.
Yeah, so I know that, you end up starting off at Arkansas. What made you end up leaving that school, and were there any other schools that you were also looking at? Because it's just even a blessing to get the opportunity to go play football again after you started something else.
Yeah, no doubt. I was kind of in the talks with Coach Morris and their staff while they were at SMU. And so when they got the job at Arkansas, I went with them. And realized, after 8 years of not playing football, there's a lot of work I needed to do. And so, obviously being from Argyle, Texas, Denton, Texas, where University of North Texas is, I felt like I had the resources outside of the facility, with quarterback coaches, workout guys that I used that, I needed to go full dive in, full strength into to becoming a quarterback. So, I felt like I had the best the best opportunity would be to come back home, get with those guys, and really kind of start dialing in on what needed to be done. And it took me 3 or 4 years to get back to be the full-time starter at University of North Texas. So I knew I had a lot of work to come back. And so being at the University of North Texas, being close to home, where I had a lot of good support around me, was my best bet.
That was going to be my next question. Why North Texas? You just answered, because it's comfy. The environs at home after years on the road, riding around on dirty old buses. I'm sure it did feel nice and cozy to do that. You know what, Shazier? North Texas, the Mean Green. You know why the Mean Green? Mean Joe Green was a star there. That I think is true, or maybe that's myth. Either way, I'm fascinated by the, because you always hear about, like, you can't take a year off of football and ever expect to get back to where you once were. You mentioned it there. How different was it? What did you find you couldn't do as well as you were doing when you were 18? And is there anything you do better now than you did when you were 18?
I think, when I came back, the speed of the game was probably the biggest thing for me. Obviously, going from a 3A high school football, then taking, 6 years off, then coming back to Division I football. That was the biggest thing for me, is the speed of the game, kind of getting to know, learning all the college offenses and stuff like that. And so, I think one of the big things I wanted to work on too was my biomechanics of throwing. And, being an outfielder, I was very, over the top, throwing like this. And I wanted to kind of level back my throwing motion. So that takes a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of reps. And so that was one of the big things that I need to get fixed, try to be more consistent and throwing the ball and having accuracy. So when I stepped on the field, I know what was going on, and I can, throw the ball where I wanted to.
So I was actually pretty close with Ben Roethlisberger, who's on my, for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Name drop.
And I obviously I played with him, and I wanted to I talked to him a few times about just being able to relate with guys in the locker room, because I was like, man, Ben, with you being older, how do you have to relate? How do you relate with guys? Because he said he's seen a lot of guys leave when he was playing. So you were 29 throwing to guys that were 10 years younger than you.
Yeah.
Like, did you have trouble fitting in, or getting close to the guys?
No, I didn't. I don't think so. When I first stepped in the locker room at North Texas, the way the guys treated me, put me under their wing and kind of like welcomed me was second to none. I really appreciated those guys. I made some of my best friends there, and being in the program for 4 years, I try to be a leader on the field, off the field. As when you're a mature guy, kind of an older guy, guys kind of gravitate towards you. And really it's not, I fit in pretty well, I think. And so, this is kind of, sometimes I'll have the conversations like, man, how was it in the locker room? Was that weird? And I was like, I feel like probably when people look at it from the outside looking in, it's probably, man, he's 29, he's 10 years older than some guys, but I'm not a unicorn in the locker room. When I walk through the locker room, they're not like, oh man, there's that old guy. Maybe we should say hi, or what do we say to him? Like, nah, dude, I'm talking mess with them, making fun of them. I fit right in with them. They keep me young. They keep me up with the new lingo on how these kids are talking now. So no, I fit in great in the locker room, and that's probably one of the things I miss the most right now. Is not being in that locker room, that I've been in the last 4 years with some of the guys. Now I'm here with, some new guys, so I'm making new friends. But my locker room was definitely one of the best parts of college football for sure.
Don't call it a comeback.
It's wild, the journey from TCU to the New York Yankees to the buses and now back to North Texas. And if I understand it correctly, the mother of your child has been with you every step of the way, right? I mean, what was her perspective, and how did it inform you leaving baseball? Did she hate the buses? Was she a part of those journeys? Does she prefer football to baseball? How does she factor into all this?
Yeah, so my wife Kristen was my high school sweetheart. So she's been there before I had did anything, made any money, was good at any sport. So she knows me before I ever became an athlete, and she stuck with me through all these years. And hats off to her, because this journey's been crazy. And so obviously with the baseball world, the first couple of years she was in college, so she'd come see me as much as she could. But once she graduated college, and she moved out with me, and I feel like just kind of as she was getting to understand all the baseball, the positions, how it goes, then I get released, and now I'm going to play football. So she's gotten to learn a whole new sport, and so she's learning slowly. Obviously, with a kid now, our daughter who just turned 1 year old this last Friday. So we've got some new responsibilities, but no, she's been with me every step of the way. She's been such a great support system for me, and so she's great. Someone that I love to have by my side through this whole journey, and with our daughter as well. So now I have a new purpose, for why I play. So it's really cool. That transition of my why has definitely changed from being an 18-year-old kid now to a 29-year-old man, trying to support a family.
Yeah, so like you bringing up your daughter, it really made me think about the question that I was going to ask anyway. Like me and Dave are both parents, and I understand how hard it is to have a parent, right? I mean, to be a parent right now, but to be a parent while in college playing football, like how did you pull that off?
So a lot of it was online classes. I was in all online classes, so it was really nice. I got the 2 degrees that I wanted out of the way pretty fast before our daughter was born. I got a finance degree and a real estate degree. So after that, I wasn't really interested in getting a master's. So I said, hey, I'm here for football. Just put me in some easy online classes, which ended up being perfect. Our daughter was born in January. So I was all online classes, got to go through workouts, spring ball. You're home, from 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon all the way through the night. And so, that was huge for us, me being able to be flexible with the schedule. And then during the season, man, when I say this, my daughter is perfect. Everybody thinks their daughter or kids are perfect. Like, she's a great sleeper. We put her down at 7:30. She wakes up at like 8:30. Maybe at the latest she'll wake up at 9. Like, she sleeps through the night. She's been amazing. So she's made this process super easy for us. I've obviously heard of some nightmare situations where parents don't sleep, but that's not a situation we have at our house. So we're super lucky that Palmer has made this easy for us.
Oh, that is nice. That is a nice little gift for you, letting you off the hook a bit there. How many times, if ever, not a great idea, I guess, probably to live life in the rear view mirror, but where you are right now, how many times do you ever look back and say, man, if I had it to do over again, I wouldn't have spent time in minor league baseball. I would have gone straight to football. Or do you do it?
No, I think, obviously I love the opportunity of playing baseball, and it's something that, I would have thought about, if I would have gone to TCU and played football and pursued that. Realistically, with all the time you put into football, like, I don't know if I would actually played baseball at TCU. I think my full time and efforts would have gone to football. And so I think then in the back of my mind, if football didn't work out, then I'd be like, man, what if I did baseball? So I think the path that guys put me on of pursuing baseball and now being able to pursue football, obviously it's a little bit, it's obviously not normal, the path I'm taking, but I think it's definitely, I wouldn't have it any other way. And so I think a lot of the journey and the process and then the failures and everything that the ups and downs I went through with baseball has helped me mature as a man. And then it helped me with, situations that, maybe came up with football and how to handle things. And, so I think that part of my journey has helped this part. And so I think they correlate really well. And, I think it's worked out pretty good.
Actually, one more question from me. Sorry, Shazier, is as far as that goes, you say a man now, and hopefully your 30s, a portion of them at least are spent in the NFL. At 18, is it weird to get $1 million deal from the New York Yankees, to have that, to be flush with that money? I mean, I remember getting my first paycheck from delivering pizzas for Domino's and the tips and saying like, well, I got $20 on me here, everybody.
Right.
Is it a complete mind trip to try and figure out what to do with yourself and what to do with that money as you go forward?
Yeah, no, I've still, got most of it. And so, for me, that
smart.
was, yes, that was one of the things I didn't want to do, is blow it all. And so, I was very conservative with what I had. And, I just kind of just lived a normal life. I didn't, go and do anything crazy, and wanted to keep that money and make sure that the longevity of it, stayed with me through, through my career. And then, I'll be honest, I probably planned on having a job by now. Looking back at 18, whether it was, playing baseball. I was hoping I would still be playing baseball, but, no, being offered $1 million at 18, for me, I guess was normal, just because that was how my life was going. And so just being smart with that, and, not blowing it all, and, making sure, when I was done, I had something left over, whether I needed it, or if I wanted to invest it or something.
Man, yeah, I love to hear that an 18-year-old was smart with his money, man. It just is it rings songs to my ears, because I know a lot of people that's been in the NFL. And
you blew all yours on one hand of blackjack, right?
I don't know about all that, but I could definitely say I wish I spent it a little bit better sometimes.
All right, so other guys are toiling in the playoffs. Some are out on the golf course already. What is Austin Aune doing right now to get ready for the draft? I assume the combine is not in the future, or correct me if I'm wrong there. It'll be a pro day style workout.
Yeah, it'll be the pro day at University of North Texas. And so, I'm doing my pro day training at the Children's Health, at the Exos facility at the Children's Health here in Plano, Texas. Working with QB Country and Landry Klon and Joe Dickinson up in Oklahoma. And so, my days are a little bit different than the normal college athlete. They'll come in, and the normal college athlete come in, kind of have a split workout where they're doing speed or agility in the mornings, maybe some skill work in the middle of the day, and then lifting later on in the day. I kind of cram all that into one workout, where I'm doing speed on Mondays with some lower body, and then on Tuesdays doing some agility with upper body. But I'm doing that all in one session, and then I'll have a little bit of break, and then I'll go and throw. And so I guess the difference between me and a regular college student would be that after this, I'm going home to a wife and a kid. But other than that, is basically the same prep as other QBs would get, as far as on the field and then in the classroom, just trying to dial in on everything. And so, that's really how it's going with us.
Well, what does if Mickey Loomis, who probably needs a quarterback in New Orleans, or Joe Douglas in New York for the Jets needs one, or Jerry Jones? Maybe, I don't know if you see some of the social media stuff the Dallas Cowboys have put out this week about their incumbent QB. What do you say if they ask, so, okay, what's the advantage of being 29 versus the other kids that we're looking at to bring into the organization?
Yeah, I think there's a maturity aspect of being an older guy, being 29 years old. I got a different, maybe a different why than some of these guys. When I was 18, through 22, it was all about me, and I'm trying to put food on the table for my family. And so, I'm wanting to work with a purpose. I got a purpose in my family, and so I'm doing everything I can to make that happen, and do everything I can for the organization to try to take it to the next level. And so, maturity. You don't have to worry about me off the field, and I'm gonna do everything I can on the field in the facility.
And you wouldn't mind it because you're a Texas kid if it was the Dallas Cowboys who made that call. You're beggars can't be choosers. You'll take any of the calls, right?
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily a New York Yankees fan, but I became a diehard fan pretty quick when they called my name. And so obviously, if the Dallas Cowboys called my name, it'd be an absolute dream come true. But it doesn't matter who calls my name, whoever it is. They'll have a lifelong fan in me for giving me the opportunity to pursue a dream. And, I'm going to do everything I can to make that dream a reality if they let me.
Man, I just remember my draft process and just going into the draft. I understand that, like, it's you're taking tests, you're taking, like they're teaching you your IQ test, the Wondery test. They're teaching you all the training. And, one thing I have to say is Austin, he might not be letting you know this day, but that's a lot of work, and he's cramming all that into one session. So that's a little bit tougher than what most guys are doing. So I just love to hear what you're doing, Austin, because I think with the level of maturity we had on this conversation, and just with the playing in the minor leagues and then having years under your belt at quarterback, I just feel like your level of maturity is going to be far more than the next guy, and I think that should definitely give you an edge and help you out when it comes to teams deciding on who they should draft.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I've just gotta hone in on my classroom work, making sure I know what I'm doing, offense is doing, defense is doing, and just executing when it comes down to getting my opportunity. And so I look forward to that, and I look forward to the draft process and everything that comes with it.
Listen, I don't know if it's unethical or otherwise. Tell them, listen, if you draft me, I can get you a Derek Jeter signed baseball. Or I'm going to send Aaron Judge to your house, and he will not be happy.
Yeah.
Think about it.
That would be awesome, yeah.
Only if that works.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, it really is just a cool and rare story arc over the last dozen years for you. The guy who you play against, or the opposing quarterback in the 2010 district game that you play, ends up being your graduate assistant at UNT. The difference in your two stories is fascinating. I wonder if you ever said, like, hey, Dane, if you think it's so easy to do, you go do it, man. What does success, though, the story isn't done yet, what does success look like if we catch up with you 1 year from now? Where are you? What do you think makes the ensuing 12 months between this conversation and our next one make a success for Aune?
Yeah, I'm just looking for an opportunity to get my foot in the door. Obviously, I'm an older guy, so I feel like they're gonna see my maturity. I still got some athletic ability in me at 30 years old. I think that's something that they'll like. I feel like if I get the foot in the door, I can turn some heads. And so in a year from now, I hope y'all call me back and saying, and I'm on a team, on a roster, I'm working my way up, whether it's on practice squad, second backup, or ended up like Brock Purdy and starting in the NFC Championship game. You never know. It only takes one person to like you, and so I'm just going to put my head down, work hard as I can, in the weight room, on the field, throwing, and in the classroom. And so when that opportunity comes up, take advantage of the opportunity and put it in God's hands, and whatever happens. And I'm super excited for what's to come, and I can't wait for this next journey.
Man, it's super cool. Brock Purdy, probably. That's why Cinderella stories are great, because they give other people something to aspire to. Same goes for you, this untraditional arc that your career has taken. And if football doesn't work out, hockey, or maybe that professional slap fight league, one of those. Who knows?
Maybe golf.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. That's one of my big hobbies is playing golf. So if I could do that, maybe I would. I joke around that with my wife and be like, all right, what's plan C? What other sport are we doing? She's like, no, we're done after this. Yeah, we're done after this. So it'll probably be real estate. That's the next step if it comes to it.
Hey, well,
maybe
let's
Mass Singer. But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but hopefully, you get to live the dream out and continue to play in the NFL at Austin. And we really appreciate talking to you today, man. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no problem at all. I appreciate y'all having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Good luck with the draft.
Thanks.
Thanks again to Austin for joining us today. Austin, best of luck with the draft. Coming up here, we've got a special edition of the Checkdown featuring stories from the upcoming NFL draft.
Don't call it a comeback.
All right, 5-0, time for some other comeback stories in the news we need to give a look at this week. This is the Checkdown. Ohio State QB CJ Stroud's father was in prison when CJ was only 13, leaving CJ's mom, Kim, to raise 4 kids on her own. Now CJ could be the first overall pick in the draft. Shazier, what do NFL teams think of players who fought through situations like CJ's and came out on top?
So, there's always 2 ways to look at this. Like Deion Sanders recently said that he likes to have quarterbacks that come from 2-parent households because just of the way that they look at the game and just look at situations and how disciplined they normally are. But just spending time with CJ, spending time watching him play, I feel that he has that. It's just unfortunately his father was in prison. But I think a lot of teams, it's just depending on what you're looking at. Sometimes when you're looking for a guy that's going through a lot of adversity, you can look at their life and you understand when it's a tough time in the game that they're able to deal with it. But even some of the toughest guys in the world, when it comes to adversity, when it comes to football, they just don't. They can still fold. So I think CJ going through all that, understanding the pressure that he has to make sure he can help his other 3 siblings, his mother, his father, it always adds weight to making you want to be a better player. But at the end of the day, I think teams look at that guy, look at both situations, understanding that one might have a little bit more baggage than the other. But at the end of the day, it's what you see in that guy. If guys spend time with CJ and think that CJ is a good guy, it doesn't matter what happened with his father. But if you spend time with CJ and you think he's a terrible guy, then you might add, his father also was going through this, so that might be why. So I think it's more about the person than it is actually the situation that they grew up in.
I don't get the vapors about a lot. I did think Deion Sanders' comment as a blanket statement was overly broad and a little bit weird. But to your point, yes, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger and all of that. And I think there are plenty of stories that are imperfect childhoods that yield strong adults. So yeah, that wouldn't necessarily be a big red X over a name because a guy came from a single parent home. Strange, I thought, as a matter of fact, from Deion Sanders. At the start of the draft process, some doubted whether Florida QB Anthony Richardson would go in the first round, but after a nearly flawless combine, he shot up to the 3rd best odds for the number 1 overall pick. We'll see how that shakes out. Could Anthony Richardson really be the first QB off the board, 5-0?
The way the NFL works, you just never know who's going to be the first QB off the board because think about it. You remember how high Mitch Trubisky ended up sliding up the board. You see how other guys just slide up the board. Baker Mayfield slid up the board because that same year, Baker wasn't projected the first guy earlier in the year, and then he slid all the way up to the number 1 spot. And Kyler Murray was a good player, and he ended up sliding up the board. And it just a lot of guys slide up the board sometimes based off of their combine and just based off of how they talk with teams and spend time with teams. Blake Bortles was one of those guys in my draft, So it's just you honestly you just never know because it's just based on what the team likes. Only one team needs to like you, and then if you're a quarterback, it just has to be the first one. So I think that he's more of a gamble out of Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. I think that Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, I think that consistently all season long, even before this year, both of them were the 1 and 2 draft. Everybody knew that those guys would be 1 and 2, and then, they talked about Will Levis a little bit here and there. But I think he'll be more of a gamble if you were to draft Anthony Richardson as the first pick. But, hey, if you draft Anthony Richardson and he leads your team to the playoff or y'all go to a Super Bowl, hey, it's worth it. So at the end of the day, it's more about what the team thinks and not what everybody else thinks. And all you need is one team to like you.
I hear you, but the main thing to keep it, the 30,000-foot view, forgive my cynicism, scouting is tough, but our dependence every year on what the TV scouts say and the whispers we hear, those guys are hitting, if they're good, at a 60% rate. That's just what it is, and that's the same level of success that actual NFL teams have when drafting a quarterback or anyone else. It is a crapshoot. You say it's a gamble. it's all a gamble. The guys who were supposed to work out, with very few exceptions, John Elway, Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence, were can't-miss QBs. Everybody else, some question about whether or not they're going to make it in the league. So do apply your own thought, as you say, and I'm sure NFL GMs don't need that counsel. But if you're a mere fan and you're rooting for this guy or that, don't depend too much on what one person says. Remember, the scouts out there told you Mitchell Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes. Don't forget all the swings and misses they've had. There was some debate way back when, should we go Ryan Leaf or Peyton Manning? The history of pro football drafts are checkered with these swings and misses by the scouts. And so nothing is a sure thing. I guess the bottom line is take the specimen who you think is going to thrive in the NFL. And that's the long and short of it. Christian Gonzalez nearly quit football after his high school coaches moved him to JV because he wasn't strong enough. Now he's looking at potentially being the first Oregon quarterback taken in the first round in 27 years. Shazier, everyone develops at different speeds. What advice would you give to young football players who aren't at this moment as physically gifted as some of their peers?
I know a lot of people get mad when things don't go their way. And I also was in JV when I was a freshman. My sophomore year, I ended up hurting my shoulder, and I had to go back down to JV. So I pretty much played JV my freshman and sophomore year. My third year, I ended up getting offers. And to me, I just tell people to be patient because you just never know. Think about it. Christian Gonzalez, he went to JV, and he ended up at Oregon. You don't just end up at Oregon. Oregon is a great football school. So I tell people you just have to be patient, and everybody develops at a different time. And at the end of the day, some people might look physically more gifted than you. Some people might be smarter than you. Some people might be tougher than you. But the one thing, you have to be willing to work harder than all these people. And if you're willing to work and be patient, most people, opportunity will come. You just have to be willing to put the work in and be patient. You know, if you're 5'5" trying to be a quarterback in the NFL, I don't know if that's going to work. But if you're somebody that actually has the ability, the size, you just have to be a little bit patient, and then also just add technique and hard work. Technique and hard work will let you get a lot farther than height, weight, and speed.
Well, I'm certainly not an inspirational tale for anyone on any level, but I will point out, to support your point there, things do pace out differently for different human beings. It took a long time for Geno Smith to arrive, and the three best quarterbacks of all time in the history of people are Joe Montana, Patrick Mahomes, and Tom Brady. Mahomes, a unique physical specimen, but the other two guys certainly were not that. It was the hard work that got them over the top and allowed them to not just keep up with, but ultimately exceed their peers who are more physically talented. So I say defer to Shazier. I just was sprinkling a little bit more on top of that. I'm no one to talk about, how to overcome the odds, because what have I overcome? Nothing. You know what? Next year's my year, Shazier. In the meantime, in the 2021 Rose Bowl, Jaxson Smith-Njigba reeled in 15 catches for 347 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. Unfortunately, that's the last time we saw him fully healthy, as a hamstring injury limited him to just 3 games in 22. Shazier, can JSN come back from his injury to be the next superstar wide receiver from The Ohio State?
I could definitely see JSN doing that. Jaxson is a phenomenal player. I really feel Jaxson, if he wasn't hurt, might have been the first receiver off the board. I think that Quentin Johnson might have won that award this year, but at the end of the day, like I said, you only need one team to like you. But I think Quentin Johnson won that award based off of just how well TCU did this year. But I think Jaxson can come into the NFL, be a superstar receiver. You've seen that he had the fastest short shuttle at the combine, and it showed you how quick he is in and out of his breaks. And that's all you need for receivers. So if you're able to get away from DBs and you're quick in and out of your breaks, I think that's going to allow Jaxson to be a phenomenal player in the NFL. And I won't be surprised if he's the next, Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave type of guy.
Meantime, Penn State cornerback Joey Porter Jr. is the son of former Steelers linebacker Joey Porter. Shazier, what would you think of your beloved and my beloved Steelers using their first pick to bring the Porter bloodline back to Pittsburgh?
A friend of mine said the other day, because I was like, hey, the Steelers, we have that 32nd pick. We might trade that for Jalen Ramsey. And then he said that we'll draft Joey Porter in the first round so that we'll have 2 lockdown corners. He said the Steelers might be in the Super Bowl if they're able to do that. And I was like, hey, man.
Whoa. Your friend, or is this a friend who works in the Steelers scouting or personnel department?
No, just a friend. It wasn't, this isn't a leak.
I was hoping Jalen Ramsey to the Steelers. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, this wasn't a leak or anything like that. This is just all speculation. But I know that Jalen Ramsey might be possibly on the move, and the Steelers are looking for corners. So I could definitely see Joey coming in, being a lockdown corner that we would love to see. His father brought so many wonderful memories to Pittsburgh, and I know the commentators would just love saying Joey Porter on the tackle, J.J. Porter on the tackle. We've seen this name make a lot of plays before, and in Pittsburgh, I can't wait until August come to September come, and if Joey Porter is on the sideline and making plays for us, I'll be one of the happiest guys because it was pretty cool. I used to go to his high school games when he was at North Allegheny, when he was at North Catholic, when he was at Penn State. I didn't really get to go to any games, but I used to spend a lot of time with his father, and me and his father are still good friends, even though he was my coach. And just watching him grow up, and now to see he's going to be a first-round corner, man, there's only so many guys that could be first-rounders, and that just shows you the hard work that he put in. So I'm really happy, and it'll be cool to see him come back to Pittsburgh.
Oh, listen, let me throw my fan-level support behind this idea. This I love. I love Kenny Pickett being drafted by the Steelers spiritually. You have to take the shot that the Pitt kid might work out in black and gold. Meantime, you have Cam Hayward and Connor Hayward, his younger brother there now. You have Derek Watt and TJ Watt. If JJ wants to join the party, he's welcome to do that as well. And maybe we can get Tremaine Edmonds to move on down and join Terrell, who's also a free agent. The more the merrier. They say football is family. It's certainly true on the banks of the Three Rivers. I love this idea. Let's do it, Shazier. Andre Carter II was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school as a tight end recruit. Then he switched to edge rusher and racked up 15.5 sacks as a sophomore from Army. Shazier, is Carter next up on the list of Service Academy grads to star in the league, a list that includes your old teammate, Alejandro Villanueva?
Man, I'm excited to see this, man. You know, it's really hard to get 15 sacks in any level of football. And just to be able to do that at the Army and just, you know, also service your country, you have to be a very strong person to be willing to go into the military because that means you're a selfless person. And, you know, I just know that he would come in, be a hard worker, and put in the work that he needs to put in to make sure that his team would be able to win at any cost. So I would love to see another military grad be able to come in and help his country, but also help whatever team he's going to join.
Well said there. That'll be a fun story to follow. Listen, this is a great time of the year. As cynical as I can be, as cynical as a lot of people are, there's still nothing quite like, I've said it before to you and I say it again, it was just so cool the night you got drafted, about 20 minutes after you were actually drafted to the team that I've grown up and have always watched, and to get to sit with you, there's just nothing like that moment of a young guy with his family, and that moment, you all know it's coming. I know you and everybody in the Shazier clan understood that our lives are about to change because our son is good at football. But when the moment hits, you really see it wash over, the joy and the relief and all the rest of the pride in family. And I could see that on your face, overwhelmed as I'm sure you were talking to some schnook, but now being a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So looking forward to all those moments upcoming here in this draft. In the meantime, great stuff from you, Shazier. And that's it for this episode of Don't Call It a Comeback.
Man, thank you so much for saying that. You know, it makes me feel good. But also, make sure to follow, rate, review the show and wherever you guys are listening. Check us out on YouTube on the Wondery channel. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes. See you all next week.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.